Have you ever felt a quiet spark with a woman and found yourself wondering if she felt it too, but couldn't quite be sure? Today, we're going to uncover 3 subtle signs that she may already be experiencing desire. And here's the interesting part. The third sign happens so quietly that most men overlook it completely, often realizing it only much later. Hello and welcome back. I'm Mary Smith, your host here on the Mindful Senior Living YouTube channel. Over time, I've noticed that many men sense something is there, but struggle to interpret the quiet, almost invisible cues a woman gives when attraction has already begun to grow. Before we explore these signs, there's something important to understand. If you've ever replayed a conversation in your mind, wondering whether she liked you, if you've ever walked away from an interaction only to later think you may have missed something, that doesn't mean you lack awareness or confidence. It simply means no one ever showed you how to recognize the subtle language of female desire, and that language is very different from what most men expect. You see, men and women often experience attraction differently. For many men, attraction feels direct and immediate. You notice someone, feel drawn in, and want to act on it. For many women, however, attraction unfolds gradually. It's not a sudden leap forward. It's more like opening small doors one at a time, quietly observing who notices. Women often assess the emotional environment first. They watch. They create small moments. They look for safety, curiosity, and mutual interest before allowing attraction to deepen. And if you're paying attention, you'll notice something fascinating. Women rarely announce their interest. They express it softly. Those quiet signals show up in body language, tone of voice, eye contact, and subtle shifts in behavior. They're easy to miss if you're not looking for them, but once you understand what to watch for, everything begins to change. Situations that once felt confusing start to make sense. Moments that once slipped by suddenly become clear. Let me ask you something. Have you ever looked back years later and realized she might have liked you? Maybe it was a coworker who always found reasons to talk, someone who lingered near you at a gathering, or a woman who laughed at your jokes just a bit more than everyone else. At the time, you may have dismissed it as friendliness. But later you wondered, if that sounds familiar, you're not alone. It happens to millions of men, not because they lack intelligence, but because they were never taught how to recognize these signals. So today, we're going to slow things down and look closely at 3 of the clearest signs of growing attraction. These aren't bold or dramatic gestures. They're quiet indicators that something meaningful has already begun. If you're enjoying this so far, take a moment to like the video. It helps more people discover these insights. Now let's begin. The first sign is simple, yet incredibly powerful. Touch. Not just any touch, but intentional, subtle contact without an obvious reason. This isn't accidental brushing or a casual pat. It's something slightly more deliberate, even if she's not consciously aware of it. In neuroscience, this is often described as initiating contact. When attraction begins, the body naturally looks for ways to reduce distance. Touch becomes a bridge. Picture this. You're talking, sharing a laugh. As she responds, she lightly touches your arm and holds it there just a moment longer than expected. Not enough to feel dramatic, but enough for you to notice. That brief pause matters. It often reflects comfort, and comfort is one of the earliest foundations of attraction. When someone feels uneasy, they maintain distance. Their movements stay guarded. But when interest begins to grow, those boundaries soften. Touch becomes more natural. It might show up in small ways, adjusting your collar playfully, tapping your arm while laughing, guiding you gently through a crowd. Individually, these gestures may seem insignificant, but together, they form a pattern. I once heard a story that captures this perfectly. A man described meeting a woman at a friend's party. Their conversation flowed easily. During their interaction, she brushed something off his sleeve, touched his arm while laughing, and repeated similar gestures throughout. He didn't think much of it at the time. Months later, she admitted, "I kept touching you because I was trying to see if you felt it too." He had missed every signal. And that's common. Because most people are trained to notice loud signals, while attraction often speaks quietly. Research shows that when people feel interest, they naturally mirror closeness, leaning in, orienting their bodies, and initiating small touches. These actions aren't calculated, they happen instinctively. Hormones like oxytocin, often associated with bonding, play a role here. Physical touch can increase feelings of trust and connection. So when a woman touches you lightly, it may simply mean she feels comfortable, and comfort is often the doorway to desire. Now remember, one gesture alone doesn't mean much, but repeated patterns tell a story. Let's move to the second signal, one that's even more revealing. It lives in her eyes. You've probably heard that the eyes reveal what words hide, and there's real truth to that. Eye contact communicates emotion, interest, curiosity, and attraction long before words do. When a woman begins to feel drawn to you, something subtle changes in how she looks at you. It's not constant staring, it's rhythm. She looks at you, holds your gaze slightly longer than expected, then glances away, only to return her gaze moments later. That pattern, look, soften, look away, return, is one of the clearest signs of growing interest. Much of this happens automatically. For example, pupils naturally dilate when we see something we're attracted to. It's an involuntary response, but you don't need to analyze details like that. What matters is the feeling behind the gaze. Her eyes may appear softer, warmer, more present. Instead of brief, polite eye contact, her attention feels focused and engaged. Imagine sitting across from her. As you speak, she watches you closely, smiles gently, looks down for a moment, then meets your eyes again. It feels natural, but also slightly magnetic. That's often attraction. When a woman is interested, she also tends to listen more attentively. She remembers details. She reacts emotionally. Her focus sharpens. That gaze isn't just politeness, it's investment. And attention is one of the earliest signals of desire. Now, the third signal, and perhaps the most overlooked, is a shift in space. When attraction begins to grow, a woman may subtly create moments of privacy. Think about it. Most social environments are shared, groups, conversations, noise. But when she feels drawn to someone, she may look for ways to step slightly outside that shared space. Not dramatically, just enough to create a moment between the two of you. She might say, "Come here, I want to show you something," or suggest grabbing a drink together, or lean in and speak more quietly. These small actions create what psychologists sometimes call micro-environments, spaces where deeper connection can form. For many women, emotional comfort is essential. These moments allow her to observe you more closely and see how you respond. Do you stay present? Do you engage? Do you remain relaxed? It's not a test in a competitive sense, it's more like an invitation. A quiet way of saying, "Let's see what happens if we step a little closer." And your response matters, not in terms of performance, but presence. Attraction grows best when both people feel comfortable. Now, let's bring this all together. These three signals, touch, eye contact, and creating private moments, are rarely loud or obvious, and that's why they're often missed. Attraction doesn't usually begin with dramatic gestures. It starts with small, quiet shifts. Subtle curiosity, gentle attention, a shared moment. When you begin to notice these things, something powerful happens. You stop guessing. You stop overthinking. You simply respond to what's already there. And that's where confidence truly comes from. Not from saying the perfect thing, but from understanding the moment. Because the truth is, attraction isn't something you force. It's something you recognize and allow to grow naturally. So the next time you notice a lingering touch, a returning gaze, or a quiet moment created just for the two of you, pause, pay attention, because those subtle whispers might be telling you something meaningful. And now you know how to hear them.